Picture this. It's 1946. The war is over, and America's breathing a collective sigh of relief. And in a quiet little town called Texarkana, life is, well, it's pretty normal. The biggest news is probably just local gossip, and you'd feel totally safe walking the streets after dark. But that feeling of peace, it was about to be absolutely shattered by a string of crimes so brutal, so terrifying that they're still unsolved to this day. Disappearing like smoke. I mean, that quote just gives you chills, doesn't it? It perfectly captures the pure terror that was about to grip this town. A faceless predator who would quickly earn the name the Phantom Killer was about to start a reign of terror that would scar Texarkana forever. All right, so to really get what's going on here, you have to understand the town itself. Because Texarkana had this really peculiar feature, something that made it totally unique, and, as everyone was about to find out, uniquely vulnerable. Yeah, you heard that right. The town is literally split in two. The state line runs right down the middle of a street called, you guessed it, State Line Avenue. So you've got Texarkana, Texas on one side and Texarkana, Arkansas on the other. For the people living there, it was kind of just a fun little quirk. But for the police, well, it was about to become an absolute nightmare. And this is the heart of the problem. Think about it. When the Phantom attacks, who's in charge? The Texas cops? The Arkansas cops? What if a crime starts on one side of the street and ends on the other? It creates this total labyrinth of rules and procedures. It's a killer's dream, really. The perfect setup to exploit the confusion and just vanish into the cracks. So, with this strange backdrop, the attacks began. And over a terrifying 10-week span, the Phantom would go from assault to straight-up brutal murder, creating a pattern that was as chilling as it was unpredictable. Okay, let's walk through this reign of terror. It all starts on March 22nd. A couple is parked out on a secluded lover's lane when they're viciously attacked. Miraculously, they survive. But just 3 weeks later, on April 14th, the Phantom strikes again. This time, he commits his first murders. And from there, the violence just explodes. On May 3rd, there's a home invasion, proving nobody is safe, not even locked in their own house. And then, get this, the very next night, he kills again. You can just imagine the fear. The entire town was completely paralyzed. And this killer, he had a signature, and it was absolutely terrifying. He wore this crude white sack over his head with just holes cut out for eyes. He always attacked late at night, usually targeting young couples in parked cars in these really isolated spots. He was sudden, extremely violent, and then poof, he was gone. But here's the crucial part. He left nothing behind. No fingerprints, and, this is huge, no shell casings. That probably means he was using a revolver, which doesn't automatically eject them. Back in 1946, with no DNA and forensics being what it was, a lack of physical evidence like that made him basically a ghost. Impossible to track. Okay, so as you can imagine, the law enforcement response was just massive. This wasn't some local problem anymore, no way. This blew up into a full-blown two-state manhunt that started getting attention all over the country. They were literally hunting a ghost. I mean, you had everyone on this. The local cops from both sides of the state line, the legendary Texas Rangers, even the FBI got involved. The whole shebang. And yet, they were all completely stumped. Why? Because there was no clear motive. It wasn't robbery. There wasn't a consistent sexual assault pattern. The victims didn't seem to be connected in any way. They were chasing a shadow, someone who seemed to be killing just for the thrill of it. And that's a concept so terrifying it left even the most seasoned investigators with absolutely nothing to go on. This chart right here really just sums up the whole problem for the police. Look at it. Physical clues? Virtually none. The Phantom was just too careful, too meticulous. Eyewitness accounts? Well, the few survivors gave conflicting stories, which is totally understandable given the trauma and the darkness, but it just sent police chasing their tails. And suspects with a motive? Zero. Without a reason like robbery or revenge, where do you even start looking for a suspect? They had absolutely nothing solid to build a case on. And then, just as suddenly as it all began, it stopped. The attacks were over. The Phantom was gone. But the investigation, of course, didn't stop, and eventually it started to circle around one man in particular. So, the prime suspect was this guy, a career criminal named Ewell Swinney. And here's the bombshell. His own wife reportedly confessed to the police that yes, her husband was the Phantom Killer. Case closed, right? Well, no,
Because of a law back then called spousal privilege, she couldn't be forced to testify against him in court. So without her testimony, the single most important piece of the puzzle, all the other evidence against Swinney was just circumstantial. It wasn't enough. He was never charged with the murders, and every other lead just fizzled out.
75 years. More than 75 years have passed, and this case is still officially unsolved. Think about that. The Phantom terrorized this town for just 10 weeks and then vanished without a trace, leaving behind nothing but a legacy of fear and a box of clues that led absolutely nowhere. Which brings us right back to the one haunting question that started it all. Who was the Texarkana Phantom? Was it Ewell Swinney, a guy who got away with it all because of a legal loophole? Or was it someone else entirely? Some shadow who lived out their life and maybe even died, taking that terrible secret with them? The terrifying truth is, we'll probably never know for sure. And it's that uncertainty that makes the Texarkana Moonlight Murders one of the most chilling and fascinating unsolved mysteries in American history.